We get started with our 10:30 class. I'd like to introduce Shaun Petersen, Buckeye Dealership Consulting. Going to give you a talk on managing your team with vision and purpose. Real quick, before I forget, show of hands, how many people are members of the OIADA?
Who I am.
Good job. For those of you that aren't, if you see anybody with a black pullover with the OIADA, that's all the board members today. We're volunteering our services. If you want to join, if you wonder why you haven't joined, we'll be glad to tell you. Shaun?
Thanks, Scott. It's great to be home. Really, I don't get to come up as much as I used to, and trying out our company's headquartered in Youngstown. But every time I get a chance to, if I have to fly up there, or have to go up there, I try to route myself through Columbus as often as I can. But it just hasn't been as frequent over the past year, so it really is an honor to be here. But I got to start with this. I can't let Terry be the only one wear this. I want you to know that we represent very well in Dallas. Funny story. When my wife and I first moved down, started looking at houses to move down, I guess I should start there. All right, feels great. Game day. Let's. So when my wife and I first started looking at houses down there, right, we're driving around, and the Dallas Metroplex area is just humongous. We're trying to figure out, deciding what town to live in, let alone neighborhoods in a town to live in. And so we were on the north side of Arlington area, like Grapevine, where if you've been in the DFW airport, we're kind of up in that vicinity, and slightly west of that. Beautiful spring day. We start to drive down. I got the windows down. We pull into this neighborhood, and this guy has a beautiful flagpole in his front yard. I think it was on a Friday afternoon or even Saturday morning, but beautiful flagpole, and he's out there and he's getting to raise the colors, right? And I'm thinking, okay, he's a nice patriotic guy, he'd be great. So out, it's like it was this magical moment, right? Wheels the rope down, has the flag open, all of a sudden connects it, right? Starts to load up, and this tuft of wind comes. Whoo! It was the colors indeed. It was the scarlet and gray. A nice, beautiful Ohio State flag. I'm like, yeah, honey, I think this can work. Where we settled on the neighborhood we live in, we're not in a cul-de-sac. It's kind of more like, imagine a track almost, right? We're tucked in the corner. The street we're on forms a square. We're at the corner of the square. My wife and I had been there maybe 3 weeks, and we're out taking a walk. And all of a sudden, kind of make that first time we'd ever really kind of explore the neighborhood a little bit, on foot anyway, and start to make the walk, and we get to that corner, and sure enough, kitty corner our yard, which has an Ohio State flag in it. There's another Ohio State flag. Taking over the world. So it's good to be home. It's good to wear the jersey. It's good to represent. He's going to kill me for doing this, but we would be remiss if we didn't have an opportunity to hear from the CEO of NIADA. Those of you that may know, Jeff Martin has been recently hired in the last 6 months or so to be the CEO of NIADA. Jeff has a gazillion years of experience in running trade associations, ran the TIADA, really kind of turned it into the premier state association in a lot of ways. So I want to invite him up here for just a few minutes. You need to see him, you need to meet him, you need to hear from him, talking a little bit about what a couple of the initiatives that they're working on at the NIADA level. But to answer Scott's question, right, I didn't see everybody's hand go up on why you should be a member of the association. Jeff can answer that question as well. So let's bring Jeff up for just a few minutes.
No pressure there, Shaun. Definitely, I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you guys are doing, supporting the association. I walked into the exhibit hall earlier this morning, and had an opportunity to say thanks to most of the exhibitors there. As you guys know, we wouldn't be able to put these events on at the state associations or the national associations. Okay. This is the X. I wasn't standing on the X, thank you. If it weren't for the sponsors and the exhibitors, so thank you guys for what you're doing there. But really what it's about is the members of the association, the dealers of the association. As Shaun had said, some of the initiatives that we have at NIEDA and the importance of having an association and belonging to an association, in my opinion, is really about growing the influence of the association so that you can protect the industry. I think that's the primary responsibility that we have as an association. I will tell you that when we start talking about programs, we ask two questions. How's this going to benefit the member, and ultimately how's this going to grow the influence of the association? I couldn't be more excited to be a part of the team with NIEDA. As Shaun said, I was with the Texas Independent Automobile Dealers Association for about 17 years. I've been with NIEDA now for about 6 months. I feel unbelievably privileged to be here, and I feel confident that with your help and your involvement, that we can build the association that you guys deserve as independent automobile dealers. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. If that's kind of what you're looking for. Happy to answer any questions that anyone has about NIEDA or about associations in general. Scott had said, the association, it's extremely important. You guys do a great job here in Ohio. It's extremely important to not only be involved in that association, but to use that association as your platform to be your voice and make sure that that your industry is being represented. Just last month, Ohio had a number of dealers that participated in Washington, D.C. We had a day on the Hill. We went and lobbied on a handful of bills that I think are extremely important to our industry and make sure that we're out there building those relationships. So again, thank you very much, number one, for having me. Thank you for being here today. I think that's extremely important to show that support. Thank you, Shaun, for asking me to come out. I'll be here throughout the day and certainly pull me over to the side and ask any questions that you may have.
If we're a member of the Ohio Association, do we also have to join the National Association?
You're automatically a member. It's a two-tier system, so once you belong to any state association, you're automatically a member of the National Association. Good question. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I'll be here I keep saying all week. It's all day. I'll be here all day. Thanks a lot.
Does anybody have any questions about what's happening in Washington? I mean, obviously there's a ton of things that you see on the news, and you hear what's going on politically, you hear what we'll set aside other.
Who's the Speaker of the House?
Well, that's one thing.
Jim Jordan.
From a political perspective, there's a pro tem in the position right now, Patrick McHenry, who's a fantastic guy. I personally would love to see him have gotten it. Jim Jordan, our boy from Ohio, has kind of won the straw poll in the caucus. There's still some question as to whether or not he can muster enough votes to actually win the speakership. We may be if you remember what happened with McCarthy earlier in the year, right? Vote after vote after vote. You'll probably have some version of that. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'd do this if I was one of the Democrats. I would, go to one of the very moderate Republicans and say, you pick whoever you want, and we'll bring the entire Democratic caucus, and it'll be a Republican speaker, and obviously they'll control the agenda, but we can stand up as Democrats and say, you can't do this without us, and it would benefit the Democrats in the election. That's an aside, but I get asked all the time, well, what's going to happen, right? We're going to have these bills that we're talking about in D.C. that we lobbied on a couple of weeks ago. Most of them are bipartisan, and they're not going to go anywhere. Why? Because there's no speaker that can transact business. If they get a speaker, they've got to come back and they've got to get the government funded, right? If you remember the shenanigans that really led to McCarthy's ouster was because he agreed to this deal with the Democrats to kick the can down the road and avoid a government shutdown. That expires in November. They got to get the government funded. The likelihood of that happening diminishes every day there's no speaker, and obviously now with armed conflicts in the world that need funding and support, So not much is going to happen. Not much is going to happen there. But where things are active is on the government agency side. If you saw this week, the president announced a junk fee initiative, proposed rule by the Federal Trade Commission I know NIDA will be very active in responding on that. I'm parsing through it to get my hands around it. The CFPB is involved. They've issued some guidance documents in conjunction with that. There's a proposed rule that's expected to kind of get some kind of formal drop here dealing with how you sell cars and market cars, and we won't get into the weeds on that, but it's a dumpster fire beyond dumpster fires. And then everybody's going to run for office next year, so the likelihood of anything happening between now and November of 2024 is... Anyway, good question. Other questions real quick before we jump into this? So Wendy and I, well, let me start with this. I mean, crap, I'm an attorney. There's nothing in this presentation that's legal advice or tax advice. But I'm going to do this thing. Anyway, all right, we're moving on. So Wendy and I were in the Carolinas, I guess that would have been first part of August at their convention. And she asked me to speak, and we kind of talked about some different ideas on, well, what do you want me to speak on? When do you want to do a Washington update? You want to get into, you know, the nitty gritty on some of these proposed FTC rules and some of the CFPB initiatives. And we heard our friend, and many of you probably listened to his podcast, Lou Godwin was doing a presentation, and we were both very captivated by what Luke talked about. And I'll weave a couple of Luke's thoughts in here as we go, but she's like, Shaun, I want you to do a presentation that really sets the framework for helping these small business owners understand and be able to lead and manage and run their companies with a sense of direction and vision and that sort of stuff. For those of you that may not know my background, I've been privileged to do a lot of different things throughout my career, a lot of which had nothing to do with the practice of law. It was all management sorts of things. I had the opportunity to run the consumer protection section at the Ohio Attorney General's office with about 75 employees. And in fact, I'll talk about some of those experiences as we go through this. I too was a small business owner. Started a law firm with a couple of former colleagues of mine. So I had staff, and we had, you know, some of the same sorts of challenges that you face as small business owners. Opportunity to be involved in senior executive management at NIDA and now with Buckeye. And so lots of different things here that I'm going to talk about really come from experience. So hopefully it'll provide some perspective. One of the things that I have learned over the course of being engaged in all this sort of stuff is every organization, and it doesn't matter whether it's a business or it's a church or it's a sports club or whatever it is that you're involved in, the association, I think there are 3 P's that build or constitute the makeup of any organization. Principles, programs, policies, or procedures, right? Those are interchangeable. So you'll hear me refer to the 3 P's a lot. Well, what the heck am I talking about? What are principles? What are we talking about here? To me, the principles are the fundamentals. So what is your organization about? What are your core values? What is it that makes you, you? What is it that you're going to build this company on? Tell me about your company. Here at ABC Motors, and you're off to the races, right? 2, 3 sentences, great elevator pitch. So think about a couple of these things, right? What's our organization's purpose? Why does our organization exist? Now, you see a lot of values that get put into that. That's fine. So you'll see me talk about a mission statement and value statement. I kind of combine the two in my history and experience. But some organizations will have a separate value statement that kind of more defines your specific principles, right? It's the moral compass for your organization. So a couple of questions to consider when you're developing that kind of a statement. What are our unique values? How do those values guide the company? Et cetera, et cetera. Check out this one. This is a mission statement, Jeff. You got to watch this one too. This is the Texas state government mission statement. Take a look at that. We're going to be limited, efficient, completely accountable, foster opportunity, economic prosperity. We're going to be stewards of the public trust, fair, just, responsible. There's some of the values that got merged into, right? Value statement, mission statement combined. Which, by the way, we just put this on a t-shirt to say, don't mess with Texas. That's really what it's about. Okay. All that other stuff is fun. Don't mess with Texas. That's the mission. Texas. So, since Bert was the only one, the hand that I saw raised here, a suggestion. I mentioned to you that we had this contest when I was at the state of Ohio, put together a mission statement for our section. We solicited ideas from each member of the staff. What do you think our mission statement should be? We gave them some parameters. We talked about this sorts of stuff. Right? I want you to come up with, each of you to come up with a proposed mission statement. And we had some fun with it. Here's an example. We protect consumers from unfair deceptive practices, educate, mediate consumer complaints, we investigate, we litigate, we serve all members of the consuming, here's the values, consuming public with respect, fairness, and understanding all facts. Not a bad one. Here's another one, just for kicks and giggles. This was my favorite submission, by the way. By the way, that didn't win. But it was my favorite.
It was the honest one.
I think, to be honest with you, I think that was from my Ralph Nader guy. We sued for you. But we had fun with it. We involved the staff. So, suggestion for you, every one of you, I recommend develop a mission statement for your organization. And involve your employees in that. We'll get to kind of employee engagement here in just a minute. But involve your employees. Make it fun. Make them have ownership in it. And see what that does for them in investing their emotional selves into your business. So vision statement is a little bit different. Some of the people may consider this a strategic plan, but same kind of concept. What is it that you're going to do, and how are you going to get to it, right? What problems are we seeking to solve? Where are we headed? Where are we going to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What's our aspirational goals? You can't have a vision statement without a goal setting, right? How many of you here, either personally or professionally, have taken the time to kind of set out, here are either my personal goals or our company goals with very specific sorts of context? Anybody familiar with the SMART technique of goal setting? Have heard that acronym? What are we talking about? We're talking about having SMART goals. Well, first and foremost, goals have to be specific. Eric, stand up. Eric didn't get his workout in the morning. Start marking time, just right there. Just start marching in place, right there. Okay. Don't stop, I'll let you know again. All right. So your goals have to be specific. Otherwise, what are you accomplishing? They have to be measurable. So you have to develop a metric that you can determine whether or not you're successful. They have to be achievable. How many of us set goals that just are so unrealistic? Right? They have to be relevant, which means that they're aligning with, hey, I didn't say it's not. Keep going. All right. I stand up. They have to be relevant, right? They have to align with your values and your long-term vision. Otherwise, there we go. There's our principles concept again. They have to be time-based or time-bound, right? They have to have an end goal or end date to make sure that they moving. I'm marching. All right. Have you feel like you've accomplished everything? I do not. He's doing something, but has he accomplished anything? All right, you see that. So think about it like this. Let's translate what he was doing marketing time into something specific. How many of us on January 1 have said, I'm going to get healthy? How many of us on January 2 go? But think about getting healthy as a goal. Is that really a goal?
Shaun, I just want to, on that really quick, every January 1st, I tell myself I'm going to gain 10 pounds. And I find it that it's very achievable. I just keep going.
See, I usually start that goal at like, November 21st, leading into Thanksgiving, and by the time we get to January 1st, mission accomplished. So think about getting healthy, not specific, no measure, nothing time bound in there, versus lose 10 pounds. Now we're getting a little more specific, but look at the last one, right? Lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Is that something that hits all those, right? Specific, measurable, time bound, right? So think about your various goals for your organization. I want to sell 30 cars this month. I want to sell 50 cars this month. Sounds great. Is it very similar to just getting healthy? Put some specificity behind it, put some action items behind it, get relevant to it. How many of you have a strategic plan? Either a 90-day plan, Jeff and I talk about this all the time. A 90-day plan, a 12-month plan, a 5-year plan. Again, another great exercise for you to do once you start the mission statement, once you have your principles identified, you've identified what you're about, put some goals in place, and that becomes the foundation of your programs, right? And your policies and procedures. What we do and how we're going to do it. And understand that goals may change. Many of you may know my colleague Brett, right? Buckeye Brett. Buckeye Brett is a freak when it comes to working out. Like, total fruit check. By the way, the picture of Tim Bell Zondo that you celebrate, like, that's very disturbing too. All I know is two guys standing in the pool with smiles on their face. You can't see any clothes, nor can you see any hands. I mean, somebody didn't think that one through very well. Can you take care of it? That could be an employee issue. HR. I'll take care of it. Anyway, Buckeye Brett is an athletic, it's just a workout freak. And, very specific goals, and, I'm going to do this. And he tore both hamstrings. Well, trained one day, and you can imagine how that took him off of his rocker in a lot of different ways, right? Goals have to change, right? And that's what we're talking about with programs and policies, those external factors, right? Buckeye Brett had an injury, had external factors that he had to readjust. I'm still about where his value is, I'm about working out. That's part of his core. He just had to do it in a much different way now and readjust what his goals and process, programs, procedures are going to be about. So, meet the mission statement and then develop a strategic plan with your goals. Now, there's one more P that I think we need to add to our pyramid, and that's the people. You'll notice that the people are all around. They're not on the bottom, because quite frankly, extra. But the people are all around. Those people are your employees. Those people are your customers. Those people are your stakeholders, whether they be your banks, your other vendors, right? It's about people. People make this happen. let's talk specifically about the employee angle of it. How can having this clearly defined set of principles with programs in place, with a mission statement, with policies and procedures that everybody has been trained on and understands and rowing in the same direction, how will that help your employees? Here's a couple of ideas that I jotted down. This is some of the conversation with Luke too, by the way. Dissolve employee anonymity. What are we talking about when I say employee anonymity? How many of you have staff that when you have a staff meeting will just shrink down in their chair, take it like they don't want to be seen or heard from? I'm just there because, reminds me of Marshawn Lynch, right? I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm just here because my boss told me to be here. You got those kind of people? Got them. I got them. 100%. Do you think that that employee engagement will increase if they understand what your company is all about? They know what the mission statement is, what the visions are, what our principles are. They're involved in setting the goals. They're involved in the process. One of the other things that we did, going back to this exercise, once we got the mission statement of the consumer protection developed, we organized, and by the way, managers had nothing to do with this. I wouldn't let the managers be a part of it. We organized teams with each of the employees, had to get out of their individual units, but each of the teams were made up of the lawyers, consumer mediators, our educators, that sort of stuff. And they had very specific tasks to come up with ideas on what we should be looking at, from key issues, what we should be tackling in terms of initiatives, education opportunities, how we can do process improvements better, right? Managers will not participate in it. To eliminate this idea of employee anonymity, get them engaged. How about this? Find employee relevance. How many of you have had challenging employees or had conversations with your employees where I just don't feel valued? Terry was telling me just last night about one of his key people submitted a notice of resignation, and he's like, my company will collapse without this person. But that guy just didn't feel like he was valued by the company the way that he should be valued by the company. He didn't feel like he was being heard right, and Terry told me, he's like, I never meant any of it. It just kind of happened. He's like, I was able to save him, and we walked through, talked through some things, and changed some of this so that the employees felt like they were relevant to the organization. I know Dan is very good at this. I'm very good at it, because I've seen him do it personally, but I'm sure many of you are. This can help your employees feel relevant. If they have a seat at the table, what can we do, team, what should our goals be? What should our focus be? What should our vision be? What are our values? And then they'll help the employees find value through measured success. Luke shared this with me. And actually, if you listen to his podcast, he talked a lot about this. He put together some measurement charts for various people in his organization that kind of took their core values and their principles. They had a vision and a strategic plan that they were working towards, and he was able to show them in kind of one-on-one conversations or team conversations, here's where we think you personally can hit goals that will help the company succeed. And here's how it all fits together. Having those kind of conversations with your employees and show them what success looks like will help them understand value and be relevant, see where they fit into the organization, so on and so forth. There we go. So these are some scorecards just for kicks and giggles. He said I could share this with whomever. So yeah, take pictures. This may or may not be relevant to anything that you are doing, but at least you can see these are some of the objectives that he was hoping to accomplish with his people. What he told me was, once they sat down and had these conversations and these planning sessions and involved their employees, they started to see an increase in measured success, right? These goals were being hit, but what they really saw, their employee retention was significantly better. Their customer satisfaction was significantly better because their employees were happier. They understood what it was about. This is what the owner is trying to accomplish. Here's what the management team is trying to accomplish. Here's how I fit into that. They had ownership and skin in the game and understood where that all fit in. So we're back to this. Our 3 P's have become 4. Your organization to achieve its utmost success is built on whatever your fundamental principles are. Establish them, communicate them, help everybody know this is what we're about. And then you develop your programs, the what we do, based off of that set of principles that don't change. And then your policies and procedures, how you do what you do, get built with goal setting and strategic planning and remember those SMART goals, understanding that all of your people are going to make that happen. I have personally witnessed that kind of success in various organizations that I've been involved in. I think personally, it's the tried and true principles that if you'll do this sort of stuff, track your success, you'll see it. And you'll see an improvement in what it is that you're hoping to accomplish. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Shaun, you're forward.
So we don't have a written mission statement, but I think our hashtag that we use all the time is kind of what explains us, and that's our whole, when a customer comes into our dealership or when they see our presence out in the public, our hashtag is, we like cars, we love people, hashtag small town dealer, big time difference. Everybody knows that culture about us. So I think that's something we can build off of and kind of then develop and that is what we're about, to a fault almost, but people keep coming back.
Well, here's my contact information. I have cards if anybody's interested in these cards. Anything I can do to help you, any thoughts I can share with you, if you ever have questions, whether it be about any of this, or a compliance question, or you have a political question, whatever it is, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I always love talking to the dealers across the country. It's the best part of what I do. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks everybody for coming.